Yeah.
When speaking of one of Liverpool's strikers, Jurgen Klopp said, quote, "He is one of the best finishers I have ever seen in my life. He scores goals you think could and should not be possible." Was he speaking of Mohamed Salah, who took the Premier League by storm? Was it Sadio Mane, who grew from a tricky winger to one of Europe's most lethal attackers at one time? Perhaps he was speaking of Roberto Firmino, a player who oozes style in his play. None of the above, actually, as Klopp was speaking about Daniel Sturridge. Sturridge is only 33 years old. He's only played 23 league matches since leaving Liverpool in 2019. He hasn't played a competitive match since April 2022, and yet he hasn't officially retired. Whenever he makes it, and whatever that decision may be for the next step in his life, let's look back upon what made Daniel Sturridge such a uniquely talented striker, a profile of player that England wasn't commonly producing at the time. Hey, I'm Adrian and welcome to my channel, Rabona TV. If you're finding us for the first time and you enjoy these kinds of football explainers / video essays, whatever you want to call them, consider subscribing. It's free, of course. This topic, for example, was suggested by Let's Abia. We're always open to subscriber ideas, so thanks, pal. Appreciate it. Beyond that, let's dive in. Daniel Sturridge was an incredibly promising youth player at Manchester City. He became a prolific scorer for their youth sides, playing a starring role in their conquest of the Nike Cup, which was the biggest youth tournament in the world from '93 to 2015, as over 1 million players representing 43 different countries competed in this youth tournament. Manchester City's academy would be champions after beating Barcelona in the final during the 2003-2004 edition of this tournament, and who else but a 15-year-old Daniel Sturridge would be at the forefront, being named the player of the tournament to go with his top scorer achievement. However, he didn't receive many opportunities in the seniors side. Perhaps the takeover and the signings that came with it in 2008 affected this, but he would move to Chelsea on a free in the summer of 2009. Similarly at Chelsea, he arrived during Carlo Ancelotti's Premier League winning season, where Drogba scored 37 goals across all competitions, while Anelka, Malouda, etc. dominated the playing time. Tough for the ever-looked-over 19-year-old. Injuries would upset the flow of his time at Chelsea as well, and although he showed promise and his ability was there to be seen in flashes, the lack of playing time meant he sought a move elsewhere. Liverpool were well aware that they had one of the best attacking talents on the planet in Luis Suarez. They were also made well aware of the fact that Suarez was begging to have another technically gifted striker to play off of him. And on January 2nd, his £12 million transfer to Liverpool was made official. His start to life under Brendan Rodgers couldn't have gone better, actually. 4 days after his move and just 7 minutes into his substitute appearance in the FA Cup, Sturridge scored. In his league debut, he came on in the second half against Manchester United at Old Trafford and scored once again. Both his league and FA Cup debuts were marked with a goal. In his first 4 appearances in the Premier League for Liverpool, he had 4 goal contributions, 3 goals and 1 assist. Toward the end of the season, the relationship with Luis Suarez really began to heat up, capped off with a hat-trick against Fulham in the penultimate fixture of that season. But his goal against former side Chelsea in a 2-2 draw will surely have felt even better. And the 97th minute assist to Suarez to tie things up, beyond feeling great, it was a sign of what was to come for Sturridge, Suarez, and Liverpool. The 2013-14 season completed Liverpool's hat-trick of second-place finishes in the Premier League era, the season that will forever be remembered by the slip. As mentioned earlier, Suarez finally had a technically gifted attacking partner to play off of, and combined, they scored 53 of Liverpool's 101 Premier League goals. When speaking of Luis Suarez, you are speaking about one of the best attacking players of a generation. His 31 goals and 19 assists in just 37 appearances across all competitions isn't spoken of enough. And while his own talent did most of the heavy lifting, Sturridge's 25 goals and 9 assists from 33 appearances is nothing to sneeze at. 34 goal contributions from 33 appearances is remarkable. But it wasn't just the numbers that were incredible, it was the style of play that Suarez and Sturridge brought to Liverpool. Liverpool, previously, was trying to outrun their banter era, trying desperately to escape it, and Sturridge and Suarez walked so Liverpool could later run, so to speak. Though to be fair, these guys were resembling a breakneck sprint on the pitch rather than a walk with the way they were playing. The goals that they scored were at times unbelievable. The link-up play between Sturridge and Suarez was filled with cheeky flicks and back heels, where Suarez could dribble out of a cul-de-sac, Sturridge could provide that as well, on top of providing an option for a long ball in behind for Studge, as he was affectionately called, to outpace the defenders and finish past the keeper. Not to mention he was decent with his headed efforts. Headed goals, stunners that looped into the top corner from outside the box, goals where he twisted multiple defenders and then the keeper inside out, low strikes to the bottom corner that seemingly had eyes with how they found their way through crowds. Sturridge, and of course Suarez, struck up a terrifying partnership. At Liverpool, Sturridge found the consistency he had been looking for in his entire career, and Suarez certainly helps to bring the best out of a player. The season after that big one with Suarez, we're talking about the 2014-15 season, it all started to fall apart. There are many contributing factors here, but it can be boiled down to one big looming specter over the season in particular, and Sturridge's career in general: injuries. Sturridge says that he was a bit nervous about losing Suarez to Barcelona and how that would affect his and Liverpool's play. But he ended up scoring on the very first day of the new season, which felt like a great boost of optimism for what was to come. While Suarez had left, Balotelli joined Liverpool as his replacement. Forgot about that one, didn't you? But nothing was the same, except for the injuries that had marred his career previously. Sturridge featured in the first 3 matches of that Premier League season in August of 2014, but then he wouldn't be seen again until January 31st, 2015. His health would take him until April of 2015 before another injury ruled him out for the remainder of the season. That initial injury that he sustained at the beginning of the season affected his mental health in a big way, as Sturridge told the High Performance podcast, linked below, of course. His injuries, coupled with the loss of Suarez, no doubt affected Brendan Rodgers' career as well. Going from that attacking duo to Balotelli and an at the time 19-year-old Raheem Sterling would provide a massive challenge for any manager. And after a season in which Liverpool stumbled from 2nd to 6th, the heat was on. Unfortunately for Rodgers, Sturridge would once again be unavailable for the start of the season, with faith put in newly arrived Christian Benteke and Roberto Firmino in the attack. It was too much too soon, and Rodgers would leave for none other than Jurgen Klopp. Now, Sturridge spoke of how Klopp told him that he would play a big role in the team and that Klopp was looking forward to working with him, Coutinho, and Bobby Firmino to turn Liverpool's attack into a monster once again. And when you say those 3 names together, it's not hard to understand how it could have reached something at least, close to what Luis Suarez and Sturridge were providing in the past. But once again, Daniel Sturridge was marred with injuries. When he returned from the hip injury that had kept him out of the end of the previous season, he lasted 3 matches, of which he scored twice, before he was out for 4 more matches. He returned for 3 once Klopp arrived, before he was out from December to February again. On and on this went, though the way he finished the season was promising for Klopp. 6 goal contributions in 6 matches consecutively. But as time went on, as Klopp's allure brought in attackers like Mane and Salah, it became harder and harder to trust Sturridge to stay healthy. You may be scratching your head here, but yes, Daniel Sturridge is a Champions League winner with Liverpool. It would be easy to forget, as he didn't feature too often due to Firmino, Salah, and Mane's incredible attacking partnership for Liverpool that became one of the best attacks in the world. But Sturridge was there all along. Did he feature much? No, as injuries, yet again, would rule him out, as well as a loan to West Brom to finish off the latter half of the 17-18 season. But for his final season at Liverpool, the 18-19 season, he got to partake in the glory of being a European champion. And in fact, he did contribute. Sturridge made 27 appearances, almost all of them as a substitute in garbage time, unfortunately. From those 27 appearances, he played just 813 minutes, an average of 30 minutes per appearance. In the Premier League, he made just 18 appearances, as Liverpool would go on to have a cruel 2nd place finish to Man City, just 1 point behind them. Along the way, he scored that stunning equalizer against Chelsea. You know the one. From outside of the box on the left side, a curling effort that fell just inside the top corner. By the way, he also scored against Chelsea in the League Cup, though Liverpool lost that match. but his record against Chelsea is fantastic. In the Champions League in particular, he scored a lovely header in Liverpool's opening match against PSG, a 3-2 win, but as the competition progressed, he never received more than 8 minutes off of the bench. It was a given that he would be moving on once his contract ended, and Klopp had nothing but good things to say about Sturridge upon his departure, saying, quote, "Daniel has earned the right to be considered a modern-day Liverpool great, I would think. He came to the club while we were trying to rebuild and reestablish ourselves. Some of the goals he has scored for Liverpool were so important. He's one of the best finishers I have ever seen in my life. He scores goals you think could and should not be possible." That's very high praise coming from a manager that has worked with some of the best modern-day scorers, such as Lewandowski and even Salah. And from there, Sturridge had an unceremonious end to his career in general. Well, the end as we know it at least, as he isn't officially retired, remember. He moved to Trabzonspor in Turkey, where he scored 7 goals in his first 16 appearances, but had his contract terminated due to his FA ban for informing his brother to bet on Sturridge moving to Sevilla in 2018. That never happened, but the ban went through all the same, and from there, his move to Perth Glory in Australia was yet another nightmare. Sturridge was hailed as one of the biggest signings in Australian football history, and rightfully so, but due to more injuries, Sturridge made just 6 appearances, of which he started just once and scored 0 goals, thus being released by the club in June of 2022. Where Klopp praised Sturridge, as did Rodgers, who initially wasn't convinced of his signing but quickly changed his tune. Back in 2014, Rodgers said, quote, "Daniel has a wonderful opportunity over the next few years to become world class. He has every tool and every quality he needs to be as good as Luis Suarez. If he stays clear of injuries and stays on the field, he can achieve that." There was always going to be that asterisk attached to his name, wasn't there? As of now, if this is to be the end of Sturridge's career, then it's yet another what could have been career that was absolutely derailed by incessant injuries. He had all of the skills on the technical level to be a dominant forward for both club and country, a dominant dynamic forward as he has exhibited he can score in a multitude of ways, glancing headers, strikes from distance, perfectly placed looping chips, dribbling through defenders and rounding the keeper. Daniel Sturridge was electric, but his body failed to keep up with his talent. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this look back at Daniel Sturridge's career. If you did, and you're new here, then consider subscribing. But beyond that, enjoy the football. Ciao.